Hey, thanks for clicking. This is Joe Fritz. Today we're going to be putting the finishing. We're going to finish up this Pikachu painting. You just saw it fly by there. Now I decided, since this is like a special video, I wanted to go all out on the background. I don't normally spend a lot of time on my background since the main focus of the piece is going to be the pixel art. But I just felt like showing off a little bit, maybe. You can see I am just adding different colors to the background here. Just doing it quickly, making sure to keep them wet. Just a light green and a dark green and some browns. You can kind of see what I'm going for already. You can kind of see there's the ground and the grass and the trees in the background. But yeah, the basic idea is the first time you meet Pikachu in the Pokemon games is usually in the forest where you start finding the bug type Pokemon. So I wanted to recreate that experience a little bit in painting form. So here I am, just kind of dabbing with a paper towel to add a little texture. It's kind of a neat way to do things. A lot of people will use like a magazine or newspaper, which I use too, but this is kind of a small painting, so I didn't want to put an entire sheet of newspaper on there. And the basic idea is just you're blending these colors and adding texture. And that texture, I mean, you can tell the difference if you do this in a painting versus if you don't. I mean, I don't know. It adds more depth of feel. It adds, like I said, it's texture. It's good. Now, you see me spraying out in front of me a little bit there. I always do a test spray to make sure that the can isn't clogged or anything, and just to kind of see what kind of pattern I'm going to get. You can see I like to do two at once, and right here I'm adding a little bit of glitter. I like to add some stuff to my paintings that maybe don't show up so well on camera, but look cool when you see it in person. There's an artist named Kilpt, I'm probably mispronouncing that, who likes to add gold leaf to his paintings, and they look amazing. So just a little bit of glitter in the background to kind of make it look cool. Now this thing here is I literally just took the same kind of paper I used to make the stencils, and just cut these out I drew them and then cut them out by hand. It's basically just some various shapes I want to add to it. You don't have to do this. I just wanted to have a little fun, since this was like my first painting of the year, basically. Well, this is my second painting of the year, really. You're gonna see the Kirby ones. So you can see like these trees that are kind of in the deep background. I'm painting blue. I'm trying to avoid using black because I feel like that makes things look a little too messy, and it also makes it not stand out as much. I believe it's the expressionist movement that in art that decided that black was a no-no, and that you should just use colors. Expressionist, I'm not sure. I'm not an art teacher. I just kind of do this for fun and a little bit of profit. So yeah, I finished up these, and now I want to add, since this is like a forest with light coming through the trees, I want to add like a little bit of flair, a little bit of just light coming down through the trees. Bob Rossing it up. You can kind of see I just do it on both. Like I said, I like to do two at a time because usually maybe one will turn out better or whatever. You see I had a little drip there. That's kind of one of the dangers of doing this. You just kind of have to be careful. And coming up, I'll straight up make a big old drip on the painting and have to clean it up. But you'll kind of see how I manage it. You don't have accidents. You don't make mistakes. You have happy accidents in art. You can always fix it. So here I go with these trees again. I'm going to go with just brown for these trees, since they're kind of in the foreground. And you know, they end up coming out kind of flat. But in the finished painting, I mean, they're just kind of in the background. They're not the focus. Pikachu is going to be the focus, so, which is another thing where I'm just like, it's like, why did I spend so much time on this background? But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun to show you guys the kind of stuff I do with this stuff, or the stuff I can do, given enough time. I spent way too much time on these. So here I am adding a little texture to the trees, just a paper towel. Again, you can do this with newspaper, you can do this with a magazine. And all it kind of does is just bring out some of that background color. Gives the trees a little bit of texture. And then I kind of come in and make some more flares. It's always fun to have a little bit of like poster board around. It's always good to have a little bit of poster board around that you can cut segments out of and do stuff like this. And you see there, I got a little drip on there. The important thing is not to panic, because you can always fix this stuff. And you're gonna see kind of I do a little kind of ingenious way of solving this problem. You're gonna see here in a second. I decided to you just sop up that little extra paint. Now Pikachu's gonna be right there anyways, so no one's gonna notice that happened. So I'm just taking a little bit of extra paint and I'm adding it to the tree bark, make it look like the sun is shining onto the trees in the background there. I think that was just a smart way to use that excess paint, I think. So, very smart, if I do say so myself, and I do. So here I am, doing some more. Now, ideally, what you want to do on this is not spray on the same place like I am right now. I forgot that in order to do this well, you should go in a line. And I think maybe on the last one here, I don't know. At some point, I figured that out. You want to spray down a line. You don't want to try to spray in one spot. And I figured that out at some point while I was painting this, but obviously not in any of the footage I captured. So yeah, spray in a line. Don't just spray in one spot. And of course, when you're using these kinds of stencils, there's a risk that you're going to kind of go off the stencil and add some stuff that you don't want. I'm not dumping on this. I'm just spraying a little bit, just giving a little bit of color. I'm trying not to do this. So here I am adding some pebble texture to the background here, to the ground. And there they are. This is looking really good. Looking like some Bob Ross stuff. Now I want to cover up the brown here. Because I want to keep that ground texture looking good. And what I'm going to do here is use a side of that thing. I don't know what you call it. Stencil, I guess. I guess it's a type of stencil. I'm just going to use that, like I said, just quick little spurts, and that's enough. You don't want to just dump, because you're going to see like the bottom line there, which I'm going to be covering up with like different colors, and I try to hide as much as possible those lines by just layering down to the ground. Just a quick Squirt. And then I'm going to be switching to a different color here. I'm going to try to hide that line that I made. And the other reason you just want to do quick spurts is so that you can just keep going. You want the spray paint to... Sorry, I'm trying to turn my phone down. You want the spray paint to dry very quickly so that you can keep doing this. You want it to at least be tacky when you lay this stencil on top of it. And if you just give it a little quick squirt, it dries pretty fast. Oh, there's a guy on YouTube that I follow who he's crazy. He will light his paint can on fire to dry the paint that he's working with. It's an interesting solution, but it's incredibly dangerous. And since I'm indoors surrounded by newspaper, I'm not doing that. I'll leave that to the experts. I mean, that's just insane. I don't know why you would do that. Yeah, I'm just adding some... I just want to add some grassy texture to the background, and you can just kind of alternate different colors to do that. Like, these colors are like yellows and greens. Like a yellow, a light green, and a dark green. Those are the different colors I had for this. Try to keep a large variety of colors around, but I found that hardware stores usually have the best selection of paint. I usually use Rust-Oleum. I don't know. I've had better luck with the consistency of the paint and the kind of... what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just the consistency of the paint I have better luck with. Now I'm going to be adding some leaves in the foreground, some grassy leaves in the foreground. You can kind of see I put some of those leaves right there so that I put the negatives of the leaves in the middle there so I can keep some of that ground texture. And here's me turning the light on. I don't know about that light. Maybe that light is too much. I'm gonna have to readjust my strategy here. There's also I feel like I need more light on the coming from the left side of the screen too. This is me just thinking out loud, taking mental notes. Here I go. Again, this is just stuff, just ideas and techniques I've picked up watching other people on YouTube, and then also just kind of playing around myself. The trees, for instance, I've never done anything like those trees before. They turned out okay. And here I am just kind of playing around with the background, trying to figure out how I want this. Of course, I don't want to make it look like... I want it to look good. I don't want it to look bad. So here I am. I'm trying to go with the kind of the curves of this, the leaf pattern there. And I think I guess I do. Yeah, that's just adding some texture. Just adding some patterns. I mean, you can also take, one thing I've done in the past too is like literally just take twigs and leaves and stuff and just put them on the canvas. So I'll paint it I'll paint it whatever color I want the twigs and leaves to be, the background, and paint over the top of it with the foreground. And it gives it a kind of weird, like blurry photograph appearance. Maybe I'll do that for another one. I usually do that for my Eevee paintings. But for this one, I was trying to show off. But I think it pays off. I think it looks really good. And yeah. I guess I could have edited this part down a little bit more. But there I am, you know, doing that test spray. And again, you know, I don't want to add too much. I want to have like texture and color. So I let a little bit of that that dark green show through the light green that I'm working with here. Spritz, spritz. There we go. And then we pull this off. Just gonna skip ahead here. Okay. Now this is the part where we actually add Pikachu to this painting. So here's the stencils we've been cutting out. There's a lot of different ways that you can weigh down a stencil. You can use, there's a non-permanent adhesive you can use to just kind of stick it to the painting, but that tends to, I don't like using that because it leaves a little bit of a residue behind. And plus it makes your stencils all sticky and they stick together and then they rip and it's no good. So I just use coins and wood blocks, depending on the size of the area. And this yellow is kind of runny, so I didn't lay it on too thick. But yeah, you just want to, you kind of have to gauge the paint that you're using. You have to figure it out and test it and play around with it and stuff. Figure out what works and what doesn't. I found that if the paint's too runny, it can just seep underneath the stencil, and then you don't get the shapes you want. You just kind of get a blob that's in the rough shape that you have. But there, even if that happens, there's ways to fix it. You can see that little cutout up there. I'm going to be using that at the end to kind of clean up the edges a little bit and make Pikachu stand out. Moving on to the second layer. I usually like to do light layer and then black, and then I do the rest of the colors. Light layer sometimes is white, but if what I'm working on is already kind of a light color, like Pikachu, I try to make that light color the base layer, the bottom layer. And here I am looking up at the camera, thinking to myself, is the back of my head getting in the camera again? Putting down these wood blocks. These wood blocks were part of another project I was working on that I ended up just getting bored with. So they're my weights now. I was trying to make a Raspberry Pi arcade stick. I still have the parts for it. I keep going back and forth on like what exactly I'm going to do with it, and you don't want to do too much black. A little bit of black goes a long way. So just one quick layer, and then just swipe over anywhere that you think needs a little bit more, but you don't want to overdo it. Like I said, a little black goes a long way. But I might do some experimenting though, because my new philosophy of not using black. I might experiment with using brown on Pikachu. I think that might look okay if you use like the darker brown. I'm gonna have to do that. I didn't do that here though, but I'll have to give that a try. Be very careful when removing those coins. You don't want the stencil to shift and mess up the painting. Be very careful when removing the stencil. And you can see he's starting to take shape. That's starting to look like Pikachu. The next layer is going to be orange. Now it's orange in the Game Boy Sprite, but of course we all know that Pikachu has little red cheeks and his mouth, the inside of his mouth is red, so we're going to cheat a little bit. We're going to add some extra color to this, because I think just red and just orange don't quite look right on this piece. And I've done Pikachu before, so I already knew to do this. Lining it up is very important. You have to make sure you line it up. I don't know if I've mentioned that. Sometimes I like to add like a little symbol in the corner to help me line it up. I'll definitely be doing that when I show you how I do more complicated stencils. But for pixel art, it's pretty easy to line it up. So now that I've got everything going, shaking up my cans, got everything weighed down so that there's no... You want to weigh stuff down so that it doesn't come up and add flares where you don't want flares. You want the color to be nice and even. Nice. Especially on pixel art, you want a little bit of... I mean, a little flare is okay. Make it look like it's on a CRT, like TV that we all played these 8-bit classic games on. So here I take the red and the orange kind of blend together a little bit, and that's fine. That's fine. As long as the cheeks and the mouth look more red than the rest of it, I think that kind of gives you the idea of what we're going for. Sometimes different paints have different weight than other colors. It is something you kind of have to experiment with. There we go. It's looking good. I just love I love this the way pixel art you know, blends colors together. You know, it's amazing how they were able to take you know, just a limited amount of information, a little limited amount of color, and they were able to just make recognizable characters, and it's really, I don't know, something that really fires me up. I think gets my mind racing, just artistically. I don't know, there's something about limitations that bring out the best in artists. It's like you look at the original Star Wars movies. They were so limited by their budget, and they were so much better for it. You know, and then once George Lucas got basically unlimited funding to do his other movies, they weren't as good. Of course, these new ones are pretty good. I don't think they're as good as the originals, but I don't think they're as bad as some people think they are. I don't know, the first one, I was glad J.J. Abrams did the first one, because he basically made a Star Trek movie that was literally just Star Wars. I don't know, that movie was Star Wars, for Pete's sake. And then the sequel was like, he's not Khan. Oh, yeah, he is. That drove me crazy. But I'm glad he got to do Star Wars, because that's clearly where his where he wanted to go. And that's the white, and the white really just adds some highlight to the yellow. And I think there's a couple more little touches I need to do here. I'm gonna just take that cutout. I'm gonna put it around Pikachu here, and what this is gonna do is it's gonna just kind of strengthen the outline a little bit. So this helps hide my mistakes if the stencil was off a little bit. So we're just gonna add a white outline. Here I am just kind of adjusting these coins, making sure they're on there and not going to cause any problems. Just some quick spurts of white. And like I said, this kind of just helps, you know, build a better outline for the character and helps clean up the outline, basically. Hey, alright, so we're going to pull this away here, and there we have it. Finished Pikachu. So, thanks for watching. I've been Joe Fritz. I hope you've learned something here, and, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, but mostly I just want you to get out there and make something, and make the world a more beautiful place.